Give me just a few minutes here. And then pop up the chat, or pop out the chat. And hello! Oh, looky here. Yeah. Okay, so if you are watching this on YouTube after the fact, don't forget the usual like, subscribe, bell icon, the whole shebang, and your cubic photon. Awesome miniatures. And tonight we are going to be doing the next stage of working on the Tarrasque. I'm going to be taking what I've got so far, adding on the shell on the back, and then we're going to be taking it and preparing it for rigging. And hello, Omerta! How goes it? Oh, I'm going to give it a few minutes. Tonight might be a short show. I've got a lot of work I got to do around the house for various reasons. And you'll notice that Shinjo has a new color for her bed now. Yes. Baby girl. Yeah. Yeah, mostly what I'm going to do, I'm going to make the shell, and I'm going to do what's called retopologizing. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and, well, where did it go? Here it is. And we are going to go ahead and pop over to ZBrush. Okay. Now here we have the Tarrasque. Now the thing is, there are basically 3 levels of detail that are going to be on this critter. This plus the shell is going to be what's called the primary level of detail. This is the first level of detail. The second level of detail will be things that are subcutaneous. As a perfect example, here it is. Let me go ahead and pop it back to this so you can see it better. If you see the wrinkle going down the neck here, along with some of the other bits along it, the wrinkles underneath the neck, those are subcutaneous details. The third level of detail is the actual scales and scutes and the roughness to the shell and horns themselves. So tonight we're finishing up the first level of detail. Now what we're going to do, we're going to start off by working on the front of the body. And this is almost entirely going to be in masking. Okay, we're going to shrink this down. And we're going to, actually we're going to start at the tail end. No pun intended. We're going to start it here. I'm going to make sure this is the, and then just a little bit of cleaning up the corner here. And actually, we can do this because we're only at 660,000. We're going to subdivide at 1 level. Okay. Now we're going to draw on the last link in the carapace and sharpen it. Okay. And then we're going to extract it, and we're going to play around with heights because we want it to make sure that it looks high. We're also not going to have double thickness. At 0.02, For this one, yes, we're going to leave it there. Except, we're going to draw to erase the thing, and then draw to erase the masking. And then here we're going to go up to geometry, and we're going to Dynamesh at 128. See how it looks. Okay, good. And then we're changing brushes just so that I can have a separate brush size for smoothing. We're going to round off the edges here just a bit. Okay. Now we're going to go back to our big guy. We're going to turn on transparency because we're going to be doing our shell overlapping. And we're going to close it off. And then we're going to kind of bring this around. And then we're going to change from 0.02 to 0.03. Extract. Accept. Turn off transparency so we can just double check on this. Okay. And then we're going to Dynamesh. And then we're going to very carefully, very carefully smooth and lift to kind of bring this out. This is about the point at which the whole thing will overlap. So we got anybody else show up? Hi Kim and Pickle. Alright. You see the shell on the Tarrasque in the game is not articulated and it doesn't look good. So ours is, but we're going to have large chunks starting from about here. Okay, so and then coming from here down. Turn off transparency so we can extract it. Accept. Draw. Draw. And then Dynamesh. And we switch back to move. And make it bigger because we kind of need it bigger. And we're going to lift it up over that edge. We're going to lift this down. Bring it in deeper into the body. We're also going to take that intensity down so we can smooth this out a bit. Okay. Now we're going to turn it back on to transparency. Go back to the big guy. And go back to standard so we can draw the next plate, which will actually be the abdominal plate. And so this one's actually going to be slightly slightly smaller. Okay. Extract. Accept. Draw. Draw. Geometry. Dynamesh. And move. Let's shrink this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to lift up the back edge. and smooth it and lower down the front edge. Okay. And then, of course, time for the next one, which this will be the chest plate. This one will be a little bit bigger than the hip, because this is the massive chest that this big burly guy has. So what we're going to do, we're going to come down to about there, to there. Now it's about the same size as the hip plate. What we might do is add in another plate down here. But that'll come after we've gotten the rest of these on. Okay. And extract, accept, draw, draw, and Dynamesh. Now, move. With this one, we're going to move it up and back a little, so it's a little bit more overlapping. And then move this down and smooth. And then there's going to be one neck plate. Well, you notice that some of that anatomy that we worked so hard on last week is covered up by these. That's fine. We know they're there, and they help us make the overall shape and masses of the body. And now we go back to him. And then we go to standard, and we're going to make the neck plate, which comes here, going to come down, and terminates there. And then we're going to cut off the top. And extract, accept, turn off transparency, draw, and draw. Now we go back to move, and we're going to shrink the mouse down a little bit again. And we're going to pull it out. And I kind of forgot to do the geometry Dynamesh on it. Okay, now I'm bringing this down and in the back. What we're going to do is we're going to smooth out this area. Now we frame out. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to blend down each of these plates. We're going to merge them down. And now we're going to subdivide them until they're nice and high res. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to start with, to make the spikes, we're going to use the snake hook brush, and we're going to make it smaller than this. And we're going to start off with a couple spikes kind of near the front, pulling out. Okay, that's too big. Okay, that's too small. Okay. We're going to refine them in a minute. Okay, and then we're going to add one on the front of each of these larger plates. No, not there. By zooming in, we're going to use inflate at a negative. Large, not that large, but there. And we're just going to kind of refine there and then smooth it. Let's bring that smoothing back up to 100. Okay. Now, detailing on these plates will come at the next stage of detail. Just to let you know. But there we have our basic first tier geometry. I think I'm going to use the move tool, and I'm going to, oh no, I'm going to grab this one and kind of move it out and down. Because it was a bit too far up. There we go. Now, the next thing that we're doing is this is the entirety of the Tier 1 geometry. The next step is to go in and take the teeth and horns, and we're going to subdivide them until they're a little bit smoother than they are currently. Then, merge down, merge down. Here is our basic, before detailing, before rigging, Tarrasque. Now what we're going to do from here, we're going to dynamesh it at 124 and see how that comes out. Because we want to fuse that carapace into the body. Okay, 788,000. Now we come in here and look, and we can see the seam where the shell meets the body. Now we need to bring that down to a reasonable poly count while also making it posable. And the way we're going to do that is not going to be with dynamesh or decimation. We're going to use instead Z-remesher. Right now, if I just click Z-remesher, let's see how many it does out of 788,000 points, and it's going to take a few minutes, as you can see. And it's at 20,000. But we've lost all the detail around the eyes. And we've lost half of our teeth. That's a no-go. Hit Control Z. What I have here selected, this cube, the very last tool, is called the Z-remesher Guides. What happens is, I come in here, I shrink the mouse a bit, and I trace around the eye. Then I come in and I trace all the way around the mouth. And I mean the mouth, not including that little web of muscle, but the mouth itself. Oops, and that's a problem. Yeah, I forgot. It overlaps down there. Okay, so I'm going to start this over again so I can see it better in the front. Okay, there we go. The next thing that we're going to do, there's a little trick for things like the arms. What we do is we get it to where there's nothing else in its line. We're going to start drawing our line, then we're going to hold down Control and go off. No, that didn't do it. Oh, I wasn't holding Control, I was holding... Okay, so we're going to do it and then hold down Control. No, that didn't do it. Was it Shift? Yeah, there we go. And that didn't work. Let's do it down here. And there we go. And what that's for, that makes sure we get a loop there. Oh, hold on just a second. Don't! Sorry. Now to show you what I'm talking about. So let's say I come in here. I want to make sure that we have a loop at the wrist. I start drawing my line and then I press Shift and go off the edge. And as you can see, it loops all the way around the wrist. Make sure I've got it to where I'm not going to be crossing over too badly. And start drawing and I hit the Shift. Whoops, that didn't work. Let's try it at mid calf instead. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Mid calf has a line around it. And now we're going to do it for the foot also. And we kind of adjust it there. Now, we go back to Z remeasure. We make that adaptive size 100. What that will do is anywhere there's a wrinkle, a crease, like right between the muscles, it'll have more edge loops. Anywhere where it's wide open and flat, it'll have fewer. Curve strength. That's the strength for following these curves. Now there's one other I need to do really before I get to doing this, and that's I need to draw around the nostril. Just click and hold and it draws the loop. And that's this right here, the last one. It's Z remeasure guides. Now, I'm going to frame out and I hit Z remeasure. It's going to take a while, and it might be close to 70 to 100,000 polygons when it's done or more. But that's less than 797,000. I'm sorry, I'm slightly distracted tonight. My mother is going in for physical rehabilitation because her legs are really weak. And they got her moving to her new room right now. So, and it's at 55,000. Okay. We look and we see that it's still got pretty good detail around those eyes. It doesn't look like it's a lot, but we lost the teeth. So, Control Z. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come in here, zoom in, and we're going to draw around the teeth. No, that didn't do it. Alright, draw here. There we go. We're going to do it up here too. Start here. And bring that there. Alright, now this time we're going to change from target palette counts 5 to 7. And then we're going to hit Z remesh. And what we're looking for is we're watching the teeth. And if this doesn't work, we're just going to increase where it says target polygons count. Nope. That didn't work. So polygons count, we're going to 16. Is that better? Well, she's not in any medical danger. She's been sitting so much her legs got too weak for her to stand. We want to try and keep it under 100,000 polygons. If we can't do that, then what will happen is we'll simply remove the teeth and horns and have them intersecting. No. One last try. Because we're getting closer. We're going to change it to 32. Z remesh. And no, it did not work. So we're going to undo that, undo the Dynamesh. Well, first of all, undo all of these. Let's go back to here. No. There we go. And there. Now, from here, we're going to use polygroups. Auto group. Anything that's a single solid piece will become a group. So we're going to click on here. This leaves us with the body. We hide it. We're going to hide the individual plates. We're going to zoom out. We're going to select those. And then under Subtool, we go to Split Masked Parts. And we're going to hide them. Now, we're going to redraw some of those loops, specifically the ones on the mouth, the eyes, and the nose. The others weren't really important. Oh wait, no we're not. We're going to Dynamesh it first. Oh. This is why undo is a godsend. Okay. Now, let's draw the eye. Around the eye. Actually, that's... No. We need to get closer so we can make it a more even... Right now, I'm using the mouse and not the tablet because I don't need the tablet. Okay, coming up from here, coming around. And coming from here, coming around the mouth. Ah, I went down too low. Okay, and coming from here, coming around. And around here, and then back down. The actual rigging and cutting for rigging, I'm going to do the cutting off camera between now and next Tuesday. Okay? Because really and truly, it's extremely boring and extremely repetitive. Now we're going to Z-remesher. We want to change that poly count back to 5 because we don't need the huge amounts. Since we got our eyes where we needed it. And Z-remesh. We're going to Z-remesh the teeth as well, but separately. Since they're separate, and it'll be able to focus entirely on them. Now, because we have our symmetry still on, the resulting geometry will be symmetrical. Okay. That is 52,000 quads. We go back to the teeth and horns, which are currently 300,000 quads. And we go to geometry. And we Z-remesh them. And we end up with, since they're all separate and not actually physically connected, $133,000. No, that's way too much. Control Z. Oh, that's because we didn't change the target polygon count. There we go. Now this will be easier. There. That's much better at 13,000. And we're going to do a couple minor things. I'm going to grab the move tool. And we're going to move the lip out of the way of this tusk just a bit more. And we're going to use the smooth tool right here. Because there's... Oh, too strong. Because there's a little bit of a wrinkle in the geometry here. There we go. And we frame out, and this is our basic geometry. Let's merge down. We have a 90,000 polygon Tarrasque to be articulated, and then later we're going to add on some additional levels of detail. Like I said, the two levels of detail beyond this is base detail. The second level will be subcutaneous things like extending this particular membrane right down here, right down in front of the thigh. Some details along the tail, the venal and tendon details in the neck and in some of the muscle areas, the padding in that of the finger or the palms. The third level of detail will be the scales on top of all this with occasional scutes. The roughness of the texture and bony areas on the plates, and then like the streaky, fibrous shape inside the horns and the claws. Now, the way that'll happen is, after I've rigged it, I can subdivide it in DAZ Studio. Usually to there. About 6 million polygons. And as you can see, that's a lot of detail. We zoom in, and even this close, we can see that, you know, the major polygons are subdivided into these itty bitty ones right here. You might not even be able to see them on the screen. Let me zoom in closer, really close. There we go. Because every time you subdivide, you take one polygon, which is this big. You then divide it into 4. Then 4 more. Then 4 more. So, 3 levels of subdivision, which, considering that ZBrush considers the base level as 1, 3 levels, that's times 64 polygons. I'm going to delete higher. But this is our base geometry. And I'm going to export this as raw geo 1.3, because 1.2 is what we were just working on. That will later be chopped up. By chopped up, I mean, in order to be rigged properly, the program has to know where the bones are. So, for example, the forearm would be from about this area here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and from about this area here back to halfway up the elbow. And that's where the base bit of the forearm is. And so then it would place its base point of bending about here. There's also a naming convention. Those of you who have my sculpting files have seen that. This is the collar, R collar, L collar. This is the shoulder, R SHLDR, L SHLDR. Forearm, forearm, and so on. Then we got the thigh. Back here you got the calf, and here, I know it's not the right term. It's just simply the metatarsals, but we're going to call it the pastern. Okay. Now I realize that's only a half an hour show so far, but we're gonna do this. Let's just do some talking for now. Let me go ahead and close ZBrush since I've saved it, and put that up, the stylus. And yes, I got a haircut. Mm-hmm. Omerta, my computer is loud because I don't have the side on it. The side is wide open. But I have a lot of work ahead of me. I need to clean some of this out. I'm going to be straightening out this whole office area and cleaning out my bedroom. Yay! So Fuzzbutt, do you like your new towel? I take that as a yes. Now, does anyone have any questions? Like I said, I'm sorry for such a short show, but that's all I really had planned to do today, because I got so much I have to do around the house. Does anyone have any questions, any ideas, any advice sought? Anything? Bueller? Bueller. I can't watch that movie anymore. Not after what Ben Stein did to those scientists. Mm-mm. I was watching random videos on YouTube, and one of them was the ecology of the Tarrasque. And while they were putting up pictures of the Tarrasque throughout various editions of D&D, they also put up pictures of creatures that were similar in appearance but really weren't, like Deathclaw. And, it was kind of obvious when it was and was not the actual Tarrasque. Because, with the exception of the version in Pathfinder, the Tarrasque looked like it couldn't move. Its carapace being one solid hard piece all the way from the back of the head halfway down the tail. And other issues. What are you doing? What are you doing, baby girl? Okay, now can I move my arm? Is that good enough for you? Yeah. Shinju, don't lean off. You don't want to fall off your bed, okay? Yeah. Good girl. Anyway. What are you doing? What are you looking at me like that for? Huh? What are you looking at me like that for? Oh, fuzzy butt. Shinju. Uh-oh, there's a housefly in here. Yeah. She's about to go nuts on a housefly. Unless one of the others comes in and snags him first. I'm going to turn this. Yeah. I still haven't gotten around to putting my paints up. My bit teaching my fellow players how to paint came out wonderfully. There were a couple that aren't that great, but I was surprised with how excellent most of them turned out. With just all it was. Most, except for the skin tone, which took almost an entire session. Choose a base color for the clothing and parts. We're going to use Agrax Earthshade for warm colors, Nuln Oil for cool colors, and then go back over and re-highlight. Just a basic, ready for the tabletop look. And they came out wonderfully. So, hey. And in the process, I also finished painting my Risco shit. I finished painting my resculpt of my figure. Yeah. See, what happened was the cats knocked this over while I was gone. And apparently the impact broke the my figure, and all three of the spiritual weapons, but didn't break the daggers or the eyeballs. Anyway, yeah, I got a lot of work ahead of me, both tonight and tomorrow morning. And I have to get Mom a new phone. And yeah. So I'm probably going to go ahead and call it a night because my stress level is outrageously high. So I'm going to do my usual holding up the hand and do my count, and we're going to log off. Okay, so that is going to be a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1. And I have no idea what to say. Yay for stress!